welcome to 19 o'clock news. I am your host, That Kodocha Girl, also known as Ari. I'll be flying solo today. M is out of town this month, but I wanted to touch on some things that have been going on this year in the world of Kodocha. We've actually had a lot of new releases in relations to Kodocha this year. Honestly, it's been kind of surprising. It's 2025. Kodocha is a series that came out all the way back in 1995, and almost every month this year we had something new presented to us, whether it was a new piece of merch, new artwork, illustrations by Miho Obana, just a lot of different fun things that I really want to go over today. So the first thing that we're going to talk about, I'm going to try to keep this in mostly chronological order. So the first thing that happened this year was we got the Kodocha pop-up shop, which was in January. It also bled over a little bit into February. So the pop-up shop was actually held in two different locations, the first being the Ikebukuro Loft. And this was, the pop-up shop opened January 7th, and then after that was completed, it opened up in the Namba Loft. This started in February, so this was the first day of February. So this was a free event. You didn't have to pay to get in. And if you were following everything pretty closely on social media, you noticed that a lot of the people that got to attend and go through the shop, it was pretty much sold out within, like, I want to say at least 3 hours. Everything was pretty much gone. So we actually got most of the interesting merch this year from the pop-up shop. They gave out some free illustrated cards as well as pins. You could also buy these as well. We also got 2 new t-shirts, one featuring some manga art by Obana, and the other was actually a panel from volume 5. I found it kind of odd, honestly, that they decided to use this honestly very random panel. It was after the flashback scene where Akito kissed Fuka in their kindergarten class, and Akito's explaining to Sana, no, that kiss wasn't anything like ours. Again, it's a good scene, don't get me wrong, but I just found it odd that they used this particular scene on a t-shirt, and it was one of 2 that they put out in the pop-up shop. So some other items that we had at the pop-up shop was actually this really neat AirPod case featuring an illustration that we see during the Mansion of Water arc. It's basically like a little love, not quite a triangle, but a square, I guess, of Sana, Fuka, Nazumi, and Akito. When Sana's, she's trying to figure out, like, okay, who likes who in this situation? What am I supposed to do about this? Things we all did when we were teen girls. Another interesting item was the mobile battery. At first I thought this was a phone case, but I think it's one of those solar-powered batteries. It's really neat. It's one of the few pieces of merch I haven't really seen come up on Mercari or any of the online shopping sites. I think I only saw it once and then it disappeared pretty quickly. So I would probably say that's the rarest piece of merch that came out from the pop-up store. However, my personal favorite item, which I actually got my hands on and I use every day, is the Kodocha Daily Calendar, which features a manga panel for every day of the month. It's honestly one of my favorite items that I actually own. Again, I use it every day, and it's just lovely. Lovely, nice, high-quality scans of some of my favorite manga panels of all time. So we got some more merch later on throughout the year, pretty much from spring through summer, even We've even got some new merch coming out now, just not as much as we were getting at the beginning of the year. We got some new more Kodocha t-shirts from the Wigo shop featuring, this was more anime oriented. A lot of the pop-up store merch was more manga oriented. So the Wigo merch, there was a lot of t-shirts with anime scenes and anime promo art on them. We even got some Babbitt socks, keychains, and prints from the anime. They also did a collaboration. It wasn't just with Kodocha, since a lot of the stuff coming out this year was associated with the Reborn 70th anniversary. For those of you listening who aren't aware, Reborn is the shoujo magazine that Kodocha was originally printed in back in the 90s. It's still going strong today. One of the most popular shoujo right now, Honey Lemon Soda, is actually from Reborn magazine. But of course, a lot of these series that they've been promoting this year, they've been, uh, I guess, what you would consider the classics from Reborn. So we got some new merch for Akazukin Cha-Cha and Hime-chan. Two series that I know are very popular within our fandom. I still need to check them out. I know it's I'm an embarrassment to the shoujo fandom and my Kodocha fandom, but another store that did a collab with Kodocha and some of these other Reborn series was Shimamura. This is a clothing store in Japan. They had a lot of little trinket style items for sale. They also had socks with character prints. It seemed like most of the socks that they were selling had Sana on them, and it does seem like the Shimamura merchandise was more manga oriented as opposed to the Wigo. So they came out with some brooches, some necklaces, one of the most notable being the Maro-chan necklace. I think they also had one for the Hayama snowman from the Christmas episode, or rather chapter in this case. And there was also some cute little bags there was two of them, I believe, and one of them had also, there was a lot of Maro in this particular merch collaboration, which is really nice to see. I feel like whenever we see a lot of Kodocha merch, usually either like Sana, Kido, the main four, Sana, Kido, Fuka, Nazumi, and when we get anime, it's usually Babbitt, but we got a lot of Maro stuff here, which I thought was really nice. So probably the most exciting news in the world of Kodocha this year was the announcement of the Hot Pepper Beauty manga one-shot collaboration. For those of you unaware, Hot Pepper Beauty is a beauty salon in Japan, and Obana created this, it's like 4 pages, manga panel of Kodocha featuring Sana and everyone in high school. This was a pretty big deal when it dropped. At first, I thought it was just like a preview to a sequel, and I can't help but it got the better of me when I saw this. I was very hopeful that this was just like part of a bigger project, but it doesn't seem like that's the case. I think it was just this collaboration to promote this beauty salon, and that was it, which is fine. I think as Kodocha fans, we'll take any crumbs that we can get. So the basic gist of the one shot is that Sana is offered a very big role by director Ono from the Mansion of Water arc. She's basically freaking out about the fact that, oh, I've never had a role this big in a while. And so she's talking about it with her friends at school, with Fuka at Aya specifically, and Fuka's like, well, hey, why don't you try a new look? And then we get a little panel of Akito and Tsuyoshi, and, Akito is being very Akito in this scene, of course, and he's like, why does this even matter? But probably the most notable moment from this one shot that had everybody freaking out on every part of the world, basically. And Obana even mentions this in a tweet, is everybody lost their minds when Akito is introduced as Sana's boyfriend, and I mean, who wouldn't lose their mind over this? So it's officially canon. I mean, we've known it's been canon, but it's I guess extra canon. I don't know. So the one shot basically ends with Akito. Well, first I should say that Sana, she goes to Hot Pepper Beauty to get her hair done, and it looks really nice. And then we end up seeing Akito sitting in the chair, and he just has this silly expression, and he's getting ready to get his hair done as well. So it's a really cute little comic. I would like to give a shout out to Kodomo no Omocha on YouTube and Twitter, pretty much on all the socials you can think of, also known as Lee. She's a very prominent Kodocha fan and individual within our community. She's done so much work compiling resources related to Kodocha. I will link her resource page down below, but she actually translated the entirety of this one shot into English. So please, go and follow her wherever you do your social medias. She's amazing. She's one of the most talented creators I know, so please, please check out her content. So earlier I mentioned how this year we've been celebrating the 70th anniversary of Reborn magazine. So we actually got some new merchandise from them as well. In August of this year, they hosted a Reborn Fest where they put out even more Kodocha merch and obviously some more merchandise related to their other series. So we got some pins, which are just like they're like glittery pins of manga art of Sana and Akito. It was pretty simple. Like, honestly, out of all the merch that has come out this year, the Reborn Fest merch was probably the most underwhelming. And I've been paying pretty close attention to the, like, Mercari and other Japanese merchandise sites. They just want way too much for these Reborn buttons, in my opinion. I just feel like, again, they're probably the least interesting pieces of merch that came out this year. And again, like, I realize that, not every piece of merch can be a home run, especially putting out merchandise for a shoujo series that really doesn't have and I wouldn't say it doesn't have a strong fan base, because we have a very strong fan base here in English-speaking countries, but I guess a large would be the better word. I feel like overall it's, and I don't even know if niche would be the word either. It just doesn't have the same type of following as a bigger series, to give us, really high quality merch all the time. I mean, we got a lot of very, very cool stuff this year, don't get me wrong, but just feel like the actual Reborn merchandise was pretty lackluster. We also got a new keychain featuring Sana and Maro. Lots of Maro energy this year, which is really nice. I was actually, we had this discussion on one of our most recent podcast episodes about, I think it was our tier list episode, and we were talking about how back like in the 90s and in early series there was more of a focus on having like a mascot type character. And M brought up a very interesting point, how, the manga, we didn't have Babbitt in the manga. For those of you who've only seen the anime, Babbitt does not exist, other than he makes a little cameo appearance on the cover of Volume 10. But we always had Maro, and yeah, it's kind of strange how that character existed, but they still felt the need to make, I guess, another mascot character, because I feel like Maru definitely worked well enough to fill that role, but I guess maybe the anime production team or whoever was in charge of that was just like, Chipmunk's just not gonna do it. But yeah, we've been getting a lot of Morrow merch this year, which is pretty cool. Also seems like they looks like they had a print of the volume 10 cover as well, speaking of that, which is nice. Again, like I said, out of all the merch this year that came out, the Reborn Fest merch was probably the least interesting. However, during Reborn Fest, we got to see some brand new artwork of Sana and Akito by Miho Obana in formal attire. And let me tell you, it's beautiful. We got a lot of other new artwork of other Reborn characters in formal attire as well, which was really nice to see. It's really nice to see a lot of these older characters coming back to life. They had a lot of like life-size stands for these characters at the exhibit, and yeah, it was really nice to see. It's really nice to see this. I wish, we could have gotten this overseas as well. I think Italian fans especially, they really would have enjoyed this. So there was actually another exhibit event that actually I don't know. I think by the time this episode comes out, it'll be over and done with. But we had another Reborn exhibit, the A-Tray. I'm probably totally butchering that name. The A-Tray Reborn exhibit. So that was held from late October of this year to mid-November. And that was also a showcase of Reborn series artwork from those series. And of course, I'm going to focus on Kodocha here. But there was some really, really cool posters, and they had some stamps at the event as well. And I was wondering if those were for sale. Yes, they are. They weren't just for display. You can find the stamps in particular on Mercari right now. I'm not sure what they're going for. They don't seem to be too expensive, but they are a little pricey for what they are. But yeah, I thought that was pretty neat. I'd say out of all the events this year, the A-Tray, or how do you pronounce it? This exhibit was probably the least interesting. It's just more of a continuation of the Reborn 70th festivities, which again is really nice. And anyone that got to go to these events, I'm very envious because there's so much exclusive content that these people got to see and experience. And it's really great. Again, it's really great that a lot of these older shows are getting the attention that they deserve. And back to the January pop-up shop, the fact that it sold out within a few hours just tells you everything that you need to know. It warmed my heart. It made me so happy that people still care so much about Kodocha. It's such a wonderful series, and I'm glad it still resonates with people. That's pretty much all the events that took place this year related to Kodocha and the new stuff that's coming out. However, we're not quite done. We've got a lot of stuff coming up at the very end of this year. Surprisingly, we've still the Kodocha train is still rolling. And we've got some stuff planned actually for spring 2026, which is really exciting. The first thing that it's actually going to be starting at the end of December, bleeding into next year, is the opening of the Reborn 70th Anniversary Cafe. So of course, this will be a continuation of the festivities. This will be held, the first cafe is going to be in Tokyo. This will be from December 27th of this year, going all the way to February 11th next year. And then the second cafe will be opening in Osaka, and that will be starting January 15th, and that will run all the way until March 1st. That'll be really interesting to see. I'm sure we'll get some more merchandise, some interesting dishes that are related to the various Reborn series. And this brings me to my next topic, which is honestly probably the second most exciting topic, in my opinion, of the upcoming activities. So, Obana recently posted 2 up-close screenshots of some new artwork that she's working on, and she says it will be unveiled spring 2026. Now, there's 2 pictures that she posted. One is an up-close of red hair that's being held together in a hair tie. It's very late 90s. The second screenshot is what looks like the up close of a green athletic jacket with someone wearing like a silver chain around their neck. So I'm thinking that this. I just feel like I'm 99% certain that this is more new Sana and Akito art. The hair matches Sana's hair color. The hair tie kind of matches the 90s vibe of the series. It matches the fashion the fashion of the time. And the athletic jacket would make sense for Akito since he's very into karate, he's very into jogging. It would fit his character. So I'm thinking that this piece of artwork, I know I talked about it in our last live episode. I wasn't exactly sure what it is, but after thinking about it and, you know, doing research for this episode, I'm pretty sure we'll probably see this artwork unveiled at one of the Reborn cafes next year. Do I think that this artwork is going to be related to a sequel in any way, or a continuation of Kodocha somehow? I really don't think so, actually. I will be very surprised if we get another manga, like a high school continuation, because Obana, when she tweeted the screenshots of this artwork, she mentioned how she was, she found creating manga to be exhausting, but she was finding that just making illustrations alone was exhausting for her. So I got the impression that she's just been focusing on creating these illustrations for the Reborn 70th anniversary. So yeah, I doubt we'll get a sequel. I really do hope we get one. That Hot Pepper Beauty manga collab was clearly a lot of people really would like a continuation based on the response after that was released. So we'll see. Again, I highly doubt it's going to be anything very significant. I think it's just going to be more. I think it's going to be very similar to the artwork that she released at the Reborn Fest with Sana and Akito in formal attire. That's what I'm thinking it's going to be. But again, I could be completely wrong. So that leads me into the next topic here. So the last thing that we're going to see other than the Reborn Cafe, there's actually going to be an event at the NHK Culture Center in Tokyo where Obana is going to be giving a lecture about the behind the scenes making the creation of Kodocha, what inspired her to come up with the story, and a discussion about why it's still resonating with people, which I think is really cool. I don't think Obana really makes any public appearances like this, so this is definitely a big deal. I couldn't tell you the last time she made an appearance in public like this, but I would safely bet that it's probably been at least over a decade. But again, I could be wrong. But I'm very interested to see what she has to say. So this event is going to be December 20th, like I said, in Tokyo at the NHK Center, and it will be streamed for people to view online within a very small window of time. I believe it's just going to be like between, I want to say December 27th and the end of January. So hopefully we can get the link to that and be able to view that. Again, it'll probably be in Japanese, so I'm going to make sure that I get it out there. We're going to try to at least archive it in some way, and hopefully we can get some subtitles out there. Unfortunately, I don't know any Japanese. I've picked up things here and there, just, you know, being so engrossed in anime and manga culture that I've picked up on things, but I definitely could not translate anything. So if you happen to, if you can watch, if you happen to be like a fan translator for anime or anything like that, please reach out to us. Reach out to me, or reach out to anyone in the Kodocha Discord server, which I will link below. Again, I will keep everyone posted on social media about the lecture and when we can view that. So that'll be happening tomorrow. But again, it won't be streaming until a later date. So I'm very curious to see what she talks about. Again, I think she'll tell us about what inspired her to create certain characters or scenarios in Kodocha. I think we'll probably get a more in-depth rundown of the inspiration of Sana particularly, as well as her TV show Child's Toy, which she mentions a lot of these things in the manga notes section of Kodocha. I think we're gonna get an elaboration of those notes, and obviously there will probably be new information that we've never heard before, which I'm very excited. I'm wondering if she's going to touch on the anime adaptation process as well, maybe a little bit about the OVA. So yeah, I I I have pretty high hopes for this particular event happening tomorrow. Um, I think I think we're gonna hear a lot of interesting things from her. And whether or not she's going to unveil anything new, again, I highly doubt that. Um, but we'll see. We'll see. So to wrap up this episode, I'm actually going to kind of segue into what's been going on in the Kodocha fandom, particularly. So I've focused a lot on official releases and things that Obana has put out there over this last year. But I want to take the time to talk about some things that are going on within the fandom. So I would say within the fandom itself, we've had a fairly quiet year. As you know, I run the That Kodocha Girl channel. I haven't really put out a lot of content this year just because I've had a lot going on IRL, so, and it's been very unfortunate because I've had a lot of ideas, and I've been working on my editing and trying to get better with that. And it's just been a disappointing year for me on my YouTube front, but I do think I needed a break from it. I'm proud of the content that I released this year. But at the same time, I wish I could have released more. But there's some really exciting stuff in the works for next year. So hopefully next year you see a little bit more from the channel. Hopefully some more 19 o'clock news action as well. Relating back to my channel, so one of the biggest videos that I put out last or this year, I guess I should say, was a video focused on Takashi Gojo. This video was overall, it was very well received. Basically, the creation of this video happened because of an interview that I happened to unearth when I got the season 2 Laserdisc set. And it comes with this really nice booklet with a lot of sketches from the show. It's really nice. I really need to get on top of scanning all of that. I want you all to see that. I'll post all of that on Pinterest eventually. But yeah, there was an interview. It was like a dual interview with Akitaro Daichi, the director of the Kodocha anime, and Shizui Oda. She is Sana's voice actress. And there was a lot of really, really interesting information in there, and I guess I'll go ahead and talk about the elephant in the room here. Takashi Gojo. So there was a lot in that interview about the creation and inspiration for the Takashi arc itself. And I found that to be the most interesting part of the interview as well, because it's a very controversial arc in the anime. When I first saw it, I didn't hate it at first. It actually got worse over time for me. But I think because it comes after such a long stretch of filler, it's almost like, and this was before I even read the manga, keep this in mind, it was almost like, oh, finally, it feels like we're finally getting back into the canon stuff. But then you kind of realize, after thinking about the arc, some of the implications and some of the questionable things that happen, like, made me feel a little uncomfortable. So this interview, and this is mainly with Daichi in this section, he talks about how Takashi is basically, and I mean, he's kind of almost like a self-insert character for Daichi. So he basically created this character. He wanted to have an anime-only arc that was, I guess, more serious. He was tired of these one-off episodes with Kodocha. He wanted to create something original. So he came up with the idea for Takashi, giving Sana a father backstory. And again, it's a great idea in theory, but some of the writing in it is just very, again, it makes me very uncomfortable. And I understand what he was trying to convey with this. And I also mentioned in my video, which, please, by the way, if you have not watched it, it's called the name of the video is The Truth About Takashi Gojo. Please check it out. I go in depth with that section of the interview. But as I was saying, I don't have the full cultural context of what he was explaining. He basically said that he was trying to convey his ideal version of a parent-child relationship with Takashi and Sana in this arc. And again, if you are very familiar with that arc, you know that there's some questionable things that happen. So having that as context was very shocking to me. Those of you that did watch that video were also equally as shocked by the content of that interview. And I just want to say thank you to Retro Nova for helping me translate that for that video. Again, I'm glad it was very well received, because I was very nervous posting that video, because I didn't want to make any accusations, and I still stand by that. I don't, fiction, there's a fine line between fiction and reality, but sometimes fiction can mirror reality as well. So again, that was a very shocking revelation, finding this interview and realizing the intentions behind that arc. As for some other interesting tidbits from this interview, and there's a lot. Honestly, I really wanted to just do a video on some of the other topics, but again, I had so much going on this year that it was really hard for me to make multiple videos. So one of the most interesting things was how they initially wanted to have Tomoko Hikita, who does the voice of Babbitt, to do Sana. But Daichi didn't really want that. He felt that her voice was just a bit too deep for Sana. So she was eventually recast as Babbitt, and they had a policy that they needed to promote Babbitt as much as possible. I guess it goes back to that 90s, that focus on the 90s anime mascot thing. There's so many examples I can think of. Actually, the first one that comes to mind is Pin from Evangelion, because he really doesn't serve much of a purpose to the story. We don't really see that as much these days, these animal mascots in anime. I can't really think of any modern examples off the top of my head. We need to bring that back. Another interesting thing was they wanted to bring in more professional voice actors in the second season, and they also wanted to revamp the second season as well. They wanted to kind of shift the tone to make it a little more serious. All of those things culminated into the New York arc, basically. A lot of those voice actors in that arc were more professional. I mean, Shizui Oda, she is really not a voice actress. She is a radio personality. That's what they ended up doing for that season, which is why it probably feels so different. I know there a lot of fans sometimes feel like the quality of Kodocha dips during season 2 because they got very experimental, and this interview is definitely proof of that. Another interesting thing that was brought up actually was Fuka's characterization in the anime. The anime team was a bit stumped on how to handle her character. There was, because of how the second season was structured and how it didn't quite follow the manga, and they were waiting to catch up with the manga for a while. That's why we had that long stretch of filler in the New York arc and all that. So we were basically left, before Sana goes to New York with Nazumi, we're basically left on this cliffhanger of Akito confronting Sana about her feelings towards him and the fallout between her and Fuka, and we don't really get to see them reconcile. So I think that was probably very challenging for them for sure. So they changed some of the story to, I guess, redeem Fuka in some ways. Initially, they planned on having Sana discover the letter that Sengoku wrote trying to get Kido expelled. They were going to have Sana find that and read it to the school, but they decided to use Fuka for that to redeem her character, which honestly wasn't a bad idea. It was, again, I can see why that was challenging. And honestly, the way that Fuka was handled in the anime, I can see why so many fans have grievances with her. Because even with their best attempts to make her look more like a friend to Sana rather than a rival, it's even after rewatching it, and I don't hate Fuka at all. I think Fuka's a great character, but the anime definitely did her dirty. Even they tried. They get a gold star for trying. I'll leave it at that. I want to give a shout out to It's Your Pal Jacob for his deep dive into the Kodocha anime adaptation. So he released this video earlier this year, I believe in March, and Em and I actually got to watch this video before it dropped. And it's very in-depth. It's almost 2 hours long. It's honestly one of my favorite videos on Kodocha on YouTube right now, so I definitely recommend checking it out. He breaks it down very well, how basically the hits and misses of the anime adaptation. It's a very, very thorough breakdown of that, so definitely go and check that out. It's a fabulous video. So the last thing I want to talk about is probably the most interesting thing that was undiscovered this year, other than I would say the Daichi interview, is the existence of a Kodocha soundtrack for the manga one-shot Mizu no Yakata. This was discovered by Annabelle, also known as Fridge Feet. She is a great contributor to the Kodocha wiki, so please, if you follow her, or give her a follow if you don't already, please thank her for everything that she's done for the community. So she found this listing for a soundtrack CD for Mizu no Yakata, which is very interesting, considering that it technically does not have an anime adaptation. The closest thing that we get is of course, the Mansion of Water arc, and seeing some of the scenes being filmed in Kodocha. And for those of you who are unaware, Mizu no Yakata is basically the movie that they were shooting during that arc. And it features Sana and Naozumi playing their characters, as well as Asako and the other guy, I can never remember his name. So and I'm not positive if it's, there's some music in it, but I'm also wondering if there's like spoken word aspects to it as well. It's pretty vague. One of the most interesting things, though, is that Obana is supposedly playing saxophone on a few of the songs, and on vocals. She does vocals on a few of the tracks as well. So this was a listing on an old Miho Obana fan site. And yeah, very interesting. This soundtrack seems to be lost to time. We still have not found it yet on the internet. I'm sure, again, it's floating around out there somewhere. We just need to track it down and archive it. So if you happen to know anything about this, please send information our way. DM me, post it in the Discord server, do whatever you need to do. And again, I also did a video on this topic this year, so please go watch that if you haven't seen it already. Well, I guess that about does it for all of the Kodocha news this year. We had a very, very jam-packed year of merchandise and news, and a lot of fun stuff happened this year in the world of Kodocha, and I'm very happy that I get to be a part of all of this, and I'm hoping that 2026 brings us some more new merchandise, maybe even a sequel, but we'll see. Or an anime reboot. That I would say an anime reboot, if anything, is more likely than a direct sequel, but we'll see. As always, thank you all for joining me here on 19 O'Clock News, and I will see you next time.
Thank you for listening to 19 O'Clock News, a Kodocha podcast.
19 O'Clock News is hosted by That Kodocha Girl and Mahou Shoujo M.
We love making new friends. Feel free to join us in the Kodocha Discord under Kodocha_media.
19 O'Clock News is not affiliated with any current or previous rights holders to Kodomo no Omocha by Miho Obana.